Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 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 testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, well, look, you're welcome to stay in the shade.
La 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 la. What's all that about?
No idea.
Protest? Protest the region? Huh?
About the Uber protest.
Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Come on over a little closer there. Further up. Come on up a little. A few more steps there.
Sorry, everybody. Everybody we need? All right, there he is. How you guys? The main man is here. Hey, everybody. My name is Keith Ellison. I'm the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus, and I just want to welcome you all here. We're joined today by leaders for civil and human rights, and we have one clear call. We urge Attorney General Eric Holder to ensure that all Americans are protected from unconstitutional profiling. We expect the Attorney General to fix this problem by issuing improved guidelines on profiling that eliminates all loopholes. Today we're joined by Senator Cardin, who is a fearless, dedicated fighter for civil and human rights for all people. And also we're joined by my colleagues who are all chairs of the respective caucuses. We have Judy Chu, Asian caucus. We have Rubén Hinojosa of the Latino caucus. I don't know if Marcia's here yet, but we have actually John Conyers is going to be wearing two hats today as a former chair of the Black Caucus and as the former chair, always he's a chair, and ranking member who has probably done as much to try to make America fair, equal, and safe as anyone. And so with that, I just want to urge you to give your close attention to Senator Cardin, and I think for the advocates here, y'all should put your hands together for Senator Cardin.
Yay,
All right? Right.
Congressman Ellison, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here with all my colleagues, but I want to echo the comments about John Conyers, one of the great champions in American history on civil rights, and I had the honor of serving with him when I was in the House of Representatives, and he continues to be an inspiration for all of us. So John, and all of it's a pleasure to be with you all today. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. That was a milestone, but as Senator Kennedy, late Senator Kennedy said, civil rights is a journey that we're still on, and we still have work to be done, and we need to make progress. So the best way to honor the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act is to move forward with additional changes that are critically needed for the civil rights of the people that live here in America. So today in the Senate Judiciary Committee, there will be a hearing on voting rights.
Right.
Very important to get that done. I applaud that. This week we saw some progress made on a bipartisan way to restore voting rights for those that have completed their criminal sentences. So we're making some progress in debate, but what we really need to get done is end racial profiling in America.
Right.
I'm proud to have sponsored that legislation in the United States Senate and join my colleagues in that, and we urge the Attorney General Holder to take the steps. This is un-American. Should have no place in the values of our country. It has no place in law enforcement. It's wasting resources. It turns communities against the needed partnership with law enforcement to keep our communities safe. It can harm people. Trayvon Martin. It can be deadly. So we need to end this practice at every level of law enforcement. Federal, state, local, auxiliary. It needs to end. It needs to end because it's un-American. It needs to end because it's a wasteful use of resources. It needs to end because this is what this country is about, and we need to have a model. So I am strongly in support of the administration taking action, Congress taking action. Let's end racial profiling once and for all.
Ben Cardin, everybody.
Thank
you.
Ben. What a great statement.
Thank you. And now Judy Chu of the CPAC, our Asian American Pacific Islander Organization Caucus. Judy.
Yes, I'm Judy Chu, chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and I'm here to say that discriminatory profiling is wrong. When law enforcement profiles based on someone's skin color, the language they speak, or who they pray to, they create a culture of fear, making communities less likely to cooperate with the police, and we are all ultimately less safer for it. Take the case of the New York Police Department and the CIA, who secretly spied on the Muslim community. eavesdropping on people, recording everything from where they prayed to the restaurants where they ate. The department even followed students onto college campuses and monitored the Muslim Student Association. If you found out the institutions that are supposed to protect you are treating you like the enemy, would you trust them? Of course not. That's why I stand with my colleagues in the Congressional Black, Hispanic, and Progressive Caucus to urge Attorney General Eric Holder to revise the DOJ's profiling guidelines. I've asked the Attorney General each and every time he's testified in the Judiciary Committee when the changes would come. And yet, the guidelines have still not been updated in over 10 years. And the current provisions have a broader exception for border and national security. This loophole allowed the FBI to actively collect racial and ethnic information, mapping American communities around the country based on stereotypes. The FBI has targeted mosques and profiled Muslims for no reason other than their faith. In San Francisco, with no evidence of wrongdoing, the FBI conducted a community outreach program where they profiled local mosques and collected information on American Muslims. Even though the DOJ's guideline currently prohibits federal agents from conducting investigations based on race, it does not preclude investigations based on religion. And that is a huge concern because TSA agents routinely search Sikh, Muslim, Arab, and South Asian American communities, and so does Customs and Border Protection. And they don't do it on no other basis than who they are. We need policies that reflect a 21st century America. Preventing profiling will not only rebuild trust and heal relationships, it will also make sure that communities of color cooperate with law enforcement. It is the right thing to do. We must continue to pressure the DOJ to review their guidelines and make meaningful changes so that everybody is treated with the dignity and respect they deserve.
Judy Chu. Rubén Hinojosa, please. Thank you, Rubén.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Congressman Rubén Hinojosa from the state of Texas. I am the chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I'm honored to join my Tri-Caucus colleagues today, CBC Chairwoman Marcia Fudge and CAPAC Chairwoman Judy Chu, as well as CPC co-chairs Keith Ellison and Congressman Raúl Grijalva. Senator Ben Cardin, who just spoke a moment ago, is someone we worked with for at least 15 years before he went to the Senate. And we are so honored to have him here at the podium before us so that you can see the commitment that the U.S. Senate has made on this very important issue. I stand with my colleagues in urging the Obama administration to act swiftly on this important issue. We urge the Department of Justice to issue an updated profiling guidance and to also strengthen those provisions. There is no place for profiling of any sort in our country, whether that is profiling based on race, national origin, or on religion. We must ensure that all individuals in the United States are treated equally under the law. Latinos across the country have been victims of discrimination by federal law enforcement agents. Members of our community have been questioned and detained simply because of their color and their appearance. One of the issues at hand in our community is that Latinos are often targeted for being undocumented immigrants. But how can the legal status of an individual be determined by the way he or she looks? Immigrants hail from around the world, from Mexico to Ireland to Vietnam, the Caribbean islands. Many, many different countries make up the 11 million undocumented immigrants in our country. We cannot allow this profiling to continue. There is a culture of fear in our minority communities, and federal law enforcement agencies must work to rebuild that trust. We need to address critical loopholes that allow the law enforcement to discriminate against people. And among the necessary revisions, we urge the elimination of loopholes allowing for profiling in the national security and border context. I urge the Obama administration to issue an updated guidance and to ensure those provisions are strong. I yield back.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Ruben. Now, John Conyers, the man who's brought the gavel and brought the issue forward for everybody. John Conyers, everybody, put your hands together.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Keith Ellison, and to all of the members of the Congress and the Senate that have been here. This is a very important ask of our Attorney General Eric Holder. I had the honor of being the only member here that was voting for the Voter Rights Act in 1965 and been the chair of the House Judiciary Committee where these changes must come from. And so I'm pleased to note that the American Civil Liberties Union has a representative here that her organization was working with us even then. Now this is an important change, and I think the legacy of President Obama as well as our Attorney General Eric Holder are going to be determined by how they respond to our requests for a closing of the loopholes that permit racial profiles still to exist even since 1965. And so this is an important, exceedingly grave press conference that we're holding, and I am hoping that my friends in the administration will take heed to what all of us are saying from all of the caucuses in the Congress. The time has come, and it must be now, during this administration, that we end racial profiling to make the Voter Rights Act live up to its fullest promise. Thank you all for being here, and we want Eric Holder to get this message.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conyers. So, look, you know, the Quad Caucus is proud to be here with the people who are really on the front lines. You're going to hear from them now, but the Quad Caucus, the Progressive Caucus, Black Caucus, Hispanic Caucus, Asian Pacific Islander Caucus make up nearly 100 members of this caucus, half the Democratic Caucus. This is a lot of people, and we believe that we represent, if you multiply those numbers times 700,000, we literally represent millions and millions of Americans who demand and want America to be fair and want law enforcement to treat everyone fair. And so, Benita Rhodes Berg is an African-American victim of racial profiling. She is very well qualified to share her story. Open up your ears, hear her voice. Benita, you got the mic.
Good morning. In life, when you've given a lemon, you make lemonade. I was born and raised with my siblings in Minneapolis. We were brought up to be proud of who we were and to obey the law. After 20 years, my father retired in 1968 from the Minneapolis Police Department, then retired 10 years later from the Minnesota Bureau of Crime Apprehension as an assistant fingerprint expert. My dad made it pretty clear that we better not get into trouble. My dad passed away in September of 2000. I grew up believing that if I abide by the law and treated myself and others with respect, I would not have to face questions by law enforcement or be singled out by for any reason. But that all changed 13 years ago, when law enforcement from the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport stopped me for no reason other than the color of my skin. In February of 2001, I was returning home from a 2-week trip from visiting my younger son, who resided in Los Angeles, California. I was using my frequent flyer pass from Northwest Airlines, and they assigned me the red eye to fly from Los Angeles to Minneapolis, arriving in Minneapolis at 6:10 a.m. I had taken the day off from my job and I planned to go straight home and go to bed. So I had on jeans, a jacket, loafers, my hair in a ponytail, baseball cap, and no makeup. Once I got off the plane, I collected my luggage and headed toward the elevator to take the shuttle home in downtown Minneapolis. While I was waiting for the doors of the elevator to close, I saw a man and a woman running to catch the elevator, so I held the door open. They entered the elevator and rode with me. When the elevator door opened, the woman said, "Excuse me, ma'am." I turned around and they had their badges out. They said they were drug enforcement agents and it was their job to watch for people bringing in drugs and money for laundry. I asked them what was their criteria for stopping me, and they told me it was because my carry-on looked heavy. After I questioned them, they got defensive and they told me not to be indignant. They wanted to see my airline ticket and my identification. The female officer asked to check my carry-on, so I told her, go ahead. In my carry-on, she found my Bible, my devotional book, toiletries, jewelry, laundry, pajamas, soy products, but no drugs and no money. The agent closed my bag and they went their way. After they let me go, I proceeded to catch my shuttle. On the way, I started crying. I was so mad. I knew that they had stopped me because I was African American. I knew that I had been racially profiled. When I arrived home, I immediately called the local DEA's office. I needed to know the real reason why they had stopped me because the reasons that the agents offered didn't sit well with me. The local DEA agents needed to know that I didn't do anything wrong, and yet I was stopped and treated as if I had. I also got in touch with my representatives, senator, and the governor's office. It took 5 years and a lot of prayers, but I have since successfully settled a civil rights lawsuit with the help of the Minnesota ACLU. Even after more than a decade since that horrible lemon experience, my feelings about the police and law enforcement have never been the same. Going to the airport is not comfortable for me anymore. I feel anxious and always wondering what's going to happen. I know the reality is that I was defined by my skin color. That is all the DEA agents saw that day at the airport, and that is all they used to make a decision about me, one that will impact me for the rest of my life. I have made lemonade out of my lemon experience. I have been volunteering at the St. Paul office of the Minnesota ACLU going on 5 years. I have found out firsthand that there are a lot of people who need the help of the ACLU, and I hope and pray that the Office of the U.S. Attorney General will take action regarding racial profiling that still happens too often in all of the 50 states. I want to thank you for attending this press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Benita. So if your bag looks heavy, they stop you. If your bag looks light, they stop you. If you have no bag, they stop you. If you get off first, they stop you. If you get off last, they stop you. It's completely arbitrary, but it's not arbitrary. It kind of depends upon the skin you're in. Look, Gert Wilder Singh represents the Sikh-American community, and the Sikh community has carried an undue burden in this scourge of racial profiling. Put your hands together for Gert Wilder because he has an important story to tell you.
Good morning. My name is Gurwinder Singh. I'm a Sikh-American student associated with the Junior Sikh Coalition. I live in South Ozone Park, Queens. On the morning of April 4th, 2011, I was invited to come to Capitol Hill to give a speech about my experiences with school bullying and my efforts to combat it. This opportunity was made possible by the South Asian American Leading Together of SALT, a civil rights organization, as part of its 2011 Asian Summit. Like all summit participants, I was instructed to deposit personal bags and suitcases in a storage room on the 5th floor of the Cannon House office building, which is not too far away from here. it was reserved by congressional staff. And so after clearing security with my bag, I found the relevant room and deposited my bag as instructed by congressional staff. I then made my way to the presentation room in the Capitol building, accompanied by staff from the Sikh Coalition. After walking about a block towards our destination, 3 Capitol Hill police officials stopped me and my colleagues from the Sikh Coalition, asked us whether we had dropped off a bag a few moments earlier, told us to step aside in the grass in full view of curious outlookers, demanded our identification cards, and rudely grilled us with questions about what we were doing that day. After several awkward minutes, other South Asian Summit participants carrying suitcases happened to pass by the area and backed up our claim that a storage room had been set aside for the South Asian Summit by congressional staff. By this time, the policemen also received confirmation from their colleagues that we had done nothing wrong. As our driver's license cards were returned to us, one of the police officials noted that a civilian had reported 2 men of Middle Eastern appearance acting suspiciously inside the Cannon building. It was at this moment that I realized we were being profiled, that even though we had cleared security, what made us suspicious in the eyes of some were our turbans. At long last, we made our way to the Capitol Visitor Center, where I delivered a speech on school bullying only moments after being profiled by police outside the halls of United States Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good job. If school bullying is wrong, official bullying is wronger. I think so, if that's a word. Anyway, Daniel Trejo is a Latino and LGBT racial profiling victim. Daniel, please share your story.
I would like to begin with thanking you for the opportunity to speak to you. I would like to begin with thanking you for the opportunity to speak to you about an issue that's important to me, which is racial profiling. My name is Daniel Trejo. I am an immigrant from Mexico, an activist within Latino LGBT community in the District of Columbia. As a member of the society, I am not only pursued as a Latino immigrant, but as a flamboyant gay man. This do identify as in a way affecting the quality of life when it comes to interacting with members of the police department, but at the local and federal. To give you an example, the police frequently treat LGBT individuals in a general and members of the transgender community in a particular more than object than I could easily harass and sexual exploit. This current to a friend to mine while needed help during the medical emergency. A friend to first to all, the policeman referred to my friend as this thing because she was a transgender individual. Instead of helping her, he requested from a third friend, also transgender, to sit at the front of the police car and solicit sexual favors in exchange for letting us all go. Being an immigrant myself and speaking an accent English immediately boxed me into the easy stereotype of being the other, which many people feel a tremendous unease. They treat me as someone who doesn't exist, someone who is not worthy of any other service, and someone who is easily exclusive because who cares? Who cares? He don't not understand us anyways. I, as you can see, I am able to articulate my feelings better than most. But I can tell you that such a tremendous has serious consequences in others' individuals' life. We frequently become impaired at their abilities to function in the social, and when reaching out to organizations to request needs service in the areas of safety, health, unexpected emergencies such as the one I just described, Based on my personal experience, we must end discriminatory profiling. The Department of Justice must provide better guidance on profiling by federal law. Enforcing agencies join me in calling for the police. Join me in calling for the police that protect all American discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to say thank you to all of our advocates today. Their work has particularly been effective. Actually, earlier this month, the Quad Caucus, hearing the calls of these awesome advocates, was able to pass an amendment prohibiting racial profiling. But the fact is, it still goes on, and we're dedicated to ending it. What we do now is call on Attorney General Eric Holder to issue guidance that makes it clear that racial profiling is not just bad police work, and it is. It's also discriminatory and helps to make good, solid American, productive people feel like second-class citizens, which they should never have to feel in their own country. So it's hot, but our commitment to this issue remains steadfast. Eric Holder, issue the guidance. Let Americans be free to enjoy this great country. Thank you very much. I didn't quite catch that. None. We haven't received a response yet, but that doesn't mean we won't receive one. We're going to stay steadfast, and we believe that we're going to prevail because our commitment is to prevail. And 50 years ago, people fighting for voting rights, civil rights, and human rights, thank God they didn't quit just because the Attorney General didn't respond to them in a timely manner. We're not going to quit either. Am I right about that?
Right. Yeah.
Listen to them. All right. Anybody else? Okay, let's get in some shape, you guys. Bye-bye.
If you want to, I guess you asked your question, but if you wanted something else, you could get it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'm good for now.
Thanks for coming, Hansi.
Thank you.
Hey. How you guys doing? Oh, yeah.
It's good to meet you.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. Okay.
Just like the first
Yeah, stick to the baby.